OriginClear is a company that focuses on wastewater treatment.
And hello, everyone. Welcome to the Water's the New Gold CEO briefing. Our mission is to transform the water industry.
Decentralization offers us this opportunity.
The plan that you've built here is super impressive.
The world is experiencing a crisis in regards to water. It's a great opportunity that you are giving us investors.
The decentralization of water treatment means that we no longer need to establish giant water treatment plants.
Let them fight over the 20%. Let's work with the 80% that's untreated.
Over 21,000 unique alternative investments.
3 million jobs in the U.S. alone.
Making it easy for the regular investor.
All the old trends just accelerated.
Lucrative and fulfilling.
The vision I've got is to standardize these products.
Design, build, own, and operate.
We have 65 people in the room.
We got an important message to share to the world.
We can put a guy on the moon, but our water is horrible.
Recycling all about water. It's a huge impact for the environment.
Bringing new infrastructure in to drive growth in America.
That's a critical part of the picture.
It's a twin 125 gallon per minute RO system.
I don't think we're talking about a $10 million fund. We're talking about a series of $10 million funds.
Yeah, the opportunity itself is very big.
To live, yes. Take care of the water.
Not too many CEOs do a weekly briefing and are willing to talk to individual investors.
And welcome everyone to another CEO briefing. As you notice, there's no green screen behind me for a very, very special reason. You're seeing it as it is in my office. But what's going on here is that we are in the middle of a series of multi-day meetings to work out exactly where water on demand is going. It's super exciting. I'm going to quickly run through. We have a video, which I'm going to run some excerpts, which is the Sustainability Champions podcast, which was wonderful. And I want to thank my brother, Stephen, for doing a wonderful job here of editing it down to where it was actually, you could likely live through it, because a full hour of this, well, you had to be dedicated. So thank you to Stephen for that. So with that, I'm going to flip over to I'm just going to share screen quickly to do the regular stuff, as you know, where we talk about, the things we're not supposed to say and all that good stuff. So let me take care of that really fast. And it's not taking care of water. I'm not going to talk about other things. I'm talking about water here. So how do we rescue water? We let the regular people of the world invest in water. And this will ultimately mean, this is something I'm going to tell you today, here and now, it will ultimately mean also the unaccredited investor, not just accredited investors. Thank God, because it pains me to have to tell people that they cannot invest in OriginClear directly. That will come. But, as an asset, water is virtually untouched. This is the very first time people can invest in water. And it is also because it hasn't been invested in, it hasn't started to run. The gold is above 2,000, oil, this, that, and the other thing. It's all gone up. How do you get in? Well, you don't get into those anymore. But water is at the beginning of its run, and we believe we have the key to it. Okay, so with having said that little bit, I'm going to just tell you that we always tell you what we think is going to happen as best we can, and we always correct it. Obviously, what actually happens could differ materially. Okay, I always like to tell you the current capital status. We are inching closer to that $1 million. Lord have mercy. We were at 982,100 last week. Now we're 994,600. Inching away. We have a couple more investments, and we will finally hit that $1 million. So, which is a milestone, an important milestone for us. So, good work is done by the corporate development team headed by Ken Berenger. All right. So with that, I'm now going to go to the Sustainability Champions podcast.
Did you know Americans drink more than 1 billion glasses of tap water per day? That's a lot of tap water. And that's just tap water. I was thinking about this. That's not bottled water. That's specifically tap water. And as water scarcity continues because of climate change and our constantly changing climate and where water is moving to and from, this can pose some really big challenges to our water supply in the future. And that is exactly why I'm speaking today with sustainability champion Riggs Eckelberry, who is the president and CEO of OriginClear.
Well, we were in the middle of this cool thing recording me.
Yeah.
But what the heck? Let's do a live thing.
Yep, I agree. Why not? We're all here.
Just to explain what just happened is I lost Zoom. My Zoom crashed. And so we had this separate cool thing set up with my good friends right here. So you know what? Instagram, who cares?
Who cares?
Right?
Let's go. We're going to show it next time because it was actually a very interesting piece.
All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I think I'm good too. So.
You were in it?
Ooh.
That's
the wrong person.
Zinger.
You're right. That's the wrong person.
All right. Well, just to introduce everyone, and I've got Josh Summers here, who's our VP Marketing. Say hi.
Nice to have you.
Thank you. The many people on board. Yep. Andrea D'Agostini,
hi guys.
President, Chief Strategic Officer. Over here, Ken Berenger, Executive Vice President and co-founder, co-creator of Water on Demand. And what we've been doing here today in our home here is discussing the thing that is happening, that is so exciting that's going forward here, which is Water on Demand coming into its own. Yeah. Now, I can't discuss specifically what we're doing about it because that would be getting way ahead of ourselves. But suffice it to say this, we're making it possible to really accelerate the capitalization of what we believe is going to ultimately save water as we know it. Why? Because industrial agricultural water treatment is 87% of all water. Yeah. And it's being trashed, and the quality is going down. And there's a very interesting clip that I probably show next week, where this person was reporting on the fact that a child had lost her life through lack of water in Ukraine last week. Wow. And we kind of accept that it happens in Africa, but that it happened in Europe was shocking to that person. I would say that if you are shocked that people are having poor water in the first world, you're probably living in a bubble because water quality is bad in a lot of places.
Yeah, totally. Riggs, so we were in a meeting, and before Riggs was saying, how many of you are drinking water from tap water? You were okay. We were outside. Right. Who's drinking tap water? And it's like, no one. It's because we kind of became accustomed to the idea that water is not good. Right? Yeah. It became normal, right? That the water it's not good. And I think that Rick sometimes, when we do our meeting, he brings to our attention the fact that it's just not publicized, not communicated, but the water infrastructure in our country is not doing well, at all. So I would say the water is in my personal opinion, is probably one of the last, if not the only, asset class that is still not owned, is still available for people to invest into and to create into. And I think it's the right time to jump in because that infrastructure is going down. Like if you live in Compton, you know that the water comes brown out of your faucet, and it's a fact. So it's coming down.
And imagine if the water's terrible here, what it looks like in other countries.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
Well, Ken, why assets? Why does everybody need to worry about assets?
Because we're always one invasion away from total chaos in the financial markets. You mean other than that?
Right.
Other than that. Well, we can get into the...
How is the dollar doing?
Last time I checked, which was about 5 minutes ago, really, really poorly.
Okay. So we have a situation where currency is a bad thing to own. You should have money in your safe, of course.
There used to be a cash is king thing, but it's like, is it really?
So you should own gold, etc. But the problem is, of course, gold is over $2,000. Right. It's heading maybe to 10,000. Who knows, etc. So if you're trying to get into these assets now, you're kind of behind.
Isn't the question? What asset can I get involved in that isn't already at an all-time high?
Well, let's think about it. not oil.
No.
The stock market is probably is going to drop or whatever's happening.
7
there.
interest rate hikes is what they're predicting.
So that's a problem.
Okay.
We think that residential real estate's interesting, but that's already boomed. You were talking about getting a place here in Florida, and I was thinking privately, Ken is going to be buying at the top of the market in Florida.
Oh, I didn't say today.
Okay.
I'm waiting for after the bubble.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yes.
Well, so
which will be like next week.
residential real estate is good, but it's already popped.
Yes, absolutely.
Office real estate is in trouble and not getting better.
And it's so as an asset class, that's a cash flow issue.
Right.
You can buy a piece of commercial realty, and I've spoken to a lot of larger asset investors that are in large commercial real estate assets. They're not worried that it's going away. In fact, if the dollar continues to, get obliterated, they know that real estate, in terms of its sell price down the road,
value,
will be fine.
Yeah.
But they've got dead money until whenever commercial real estate figures out how to get rent rolls and cash flows going again. Now, is that 2 years, 3 years, 5 years? The consensus I'm hearing from people that are smarter about this stuff than me, because I'm not an expert, is they think it's 4 or 5 years.
Well,
so 2026.
Wow. There's going to be, I believe, we know there's a permanent change in behavior. So, maybe condo conversions of a lot of office buildings, et cetera. Strip malls being turned into I don't know what. But, big Zoom rooms.
You know what they're doing now? Shopping malls. Big shopping malls, multi-million square foot things that are all boarded up. So they're turning them into casinos. Wow. It's the only way they can monetize
the square footage.
Millions and millions of square feet, and every other store's closed. I went through a local mall by me, Westmoreland Mall, and it's this massive thing, and they were dead. They opened up a casino. They're doing great. So they figured it out. What are you going to do with multi-million square feet of retail space? You turn it into, or you incorporate a.
If
casino.
you're on Indian lands.
No, this is regular.
In Pennsylvania, they allow gambling.
It was quite a battle. It was a pitched battle.
Interesting.
Yeah, but it happened. So what you said was with the condo conversions, with finding ways of making that office space cash flow positive again. That's a process that's going to take a couple of years. A lot of people don't have 5 years of no cash flow on. These are not small investments. These are 10, 20, 50, $100 million assets that they're kind of landlocked in, and that's got people nervous. So the question is, what asset can I buy that isn't already topped out, that's, let's see, being monetized for the first time in human history? Oh, and by the way, is responsible for all life on Earth.
But how come all of a sudden it's an investable asset?
Okay. If I understand your question, how come? It's because we've created a individual financial instrument that allows an everyday accredited investor to be a direct investor the way they have in energy.
Sure, but prior to that, of course, was the abdication by government of its responsibility for treating water.
Oh, okay. So what led to this? So what was this holy cow moment?
Right.
When you often describe it, and I think it's best when we describe it to the audience in very colloquial terms. It's you have pollution basically being emitted at the point of pollution. So whether it's a manufacturing plant, a farm, whatever, that flows downstream. Local utilities, city-based utilities, are ill-equipped to deal with that type of effluent. Mm-hmm. They're dealing with what goes down our drains or toilets or whatever, and that's it. So what happens is the cities beg the state for money. They can't get the money, so you get brown water in Compton. And they say, well, guys, this isn't a surprise. We've been begging you for money.
Yeah, it's not able to sustain the demand.
So the abdication of responsibility, as Riggs put it, all comes back down to what? It's the money, stupid.
Government at its finest.
Okay, which creates the opportunity we're talking about. In other words, now business is going to have to take care of itself. Where there is good service, rates are very high and rising, and we have that problem. For example, that wonderful case study of the Russian River Brewery in Sonoma County, which found itself with skyrocketing water rates, and they were expanding, and one of our friendly competitors, Cambrian Innovation, went to them and said, you can have a system, no money up front. And they were like, okay. And not only that, even more important in a way, was that Cambrian was going to do all the maintenance. So they didn't have to have a water expert in the brewery.
On board.
Because all of a sudden, you're now taking responsibility for water treatment, but you're not in the water business,
Right.
and you don't want to hire a water expert.
Right.
There's a scarcity of those as it is.
Yeah.
And so by having this complete problem taken off my hands, I'm like, okay, I can focus on my beer. And that is turning into a movement. This is why we saw Ken and I saw in early 2020, $47 million worth of business lined up of people who needed systems, but it wasn't happening.
Mm-hmm.
They knew they needed to do it, they were stuck with it, they had to do it, and yet it wasn't happening. And we figured out after a few months, as you said, it's the money stupid, right? We provide the money, it loosens it up, and it goes. Last week, you and I called one of my longtime friends from back in the day when we were actually working in the fracking space. And it was like old home week.
Right.
And then he explained what we wanted him to do for us, which was to help us, run these systems. And he said, yeah, I actually have a golf course. that needs, the only thing stopping them is the money.
Right.
Will you handle it? I'm like, okay.
Little more backstory on that. So what this company has been doing, for the audience's sake, they've been doing the business part that we want to incorporate right away is the operations and maintenance for 3 decades. Okay? Yeah. Both a local, national, and international footprint. What was really fascinating, and I listened on this thing, and I'm going to continue to hound him. You need to do that more. You need to do that more. It was a clinic. It was a perfect example of what the typical water company is experiencing, and they've had nobody to talk. Like it's a bunch of guys in a room all complaining about the same problem, right? But no one's really fixing it, right? So he was basically saying, to give you an idea about sales cycle and why water on demand became like a lightning bolt moment. What did he say? I've been working on this golf course for 10 years.
Wow.
It was just about to close. They were self-financing and it fell apart. And they said to him, well, we're going to wait a couple of years. So you're talking a 14-year sales cycle. He said, and I'm paraphrasing, if we could get the money angle solved, they would close in a minute. And there's a couple dozen behind it.
More golf courses.
Right.
Right.
Then he mentions, you have that wonderful HDPE stuff.
High density polyethylene.
Sorry. High density polyethylene. Sorry, Dan. That wonderful HDPE, high density polyethylene stuff. We would really be interested. Could we use that in
modular water?
And we were like, let me think about that. Sure. You want to license our stuff, right? So what it displayed to me is Riggs and I have been back in the lab, mixing chemicals, going like this, and we've come up with this. It's finally taken with the help of you and with the help of Andrea. We now can do what we need to do and have other folks help us organize all this thing. But that phone call, being, kind of talking to a guy in the industry, the need and the desire, there was no skepticism. DBOO, sure, we'll do the DBOO for you. If you can
design, build, own, operate.
We've only done that 50 times. I figured the audience knew that. So anyway, I'm going to be the straight man next week.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Okay. So the point I was making was that it was blatant and obvious that this is just a small example of the need out there.
The demand, yeah.
For, wait a minute, you got money? You could actually fund. So this guy that's stuck in the mud, right? If we had this financing capability, a year and a half ago, we had another $40 million in business could have been done like that, right? So, and we're one tiny, at PWS and MWS and PWT are one tiny little company in an ocean, pardon the water pun, of these water companies that represent hundreds of billions of dollars of business across the country. If this is one example of the desire to have money solving pipeline problems, the total market on this thing is
enormous.
It's stunning.
Enormous.
So what this validated for us was our decision to do 2 things. First of all, to delegate the building and maintenance of these systems, number 1. And number 2, to look to those companies for deal flow.
Yeah.
Which, in fact, Josh, you don't have a job anymore. Geez,
Dang it already. God, I just got here.
But the truth is that through these channel relationships, we're gonna be able to scale, because now we're operating as a finance operation. Now, is that easy? No. Why? Because we have to do contract management, project management, contract enforcement.
Yeah.
We have to make sure that, let's say that Josh, you're the water company, and Ken, you're the client. We're in the middle. We have a contract with both. Well, if you screw up, then I still have a contract, and I've got a real problem.
Yeah.
So making sure that you work, and probably there's redundancy so that Andrea is behind you in case you screw up. All these things have to be done by us at Command Central.
Yep.
But that still allows us to go in parallel operation and have multiple projects and a lot of clients coming to us through these water companies. And here's the final thing that I realized. This is our Supercharger network.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is Tesla. Right now, Tesla's Supercharger network is very hard for competitors to overcome.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, well, maybe we'll put chargers at gas stations. And they're still talking about it.
Yeah.
Right? Tesla just did it.
Yep.
We're doing the same thing. So we're putting in place this network of water companies that know how to do operation and maintenance, right. O&M, in other words, that know how to do the continuing work. And once we've got them, it's going to be hard for others to break in. Right. It's going to create a club. And so this is really we're going to rename it Club Water.
Club Water?
No, forget Water on Demand. It's Club Water.
Okay. Well,
not Club Med.
If you're going to say it right,
Club Soda.
It's Club Water. Club Water.
Yeah, there you go.
But the process that Riggs described, because you're not reliant on, so the world is your manufacturer.
Yeah.
The world is your sales rep. The world is your consulting engineer.
Yeah.
You've got the entire world pitching on your behalf. Why? Because this guy gets to accelerate my sales cycle from 2 years to 2 months.
Yeah.
That is stunningly scalable, right?
Because at the end of the day, it's about production, right? Getting stuff in there.
Well, here's the thing. So we wanted to grow through acquisition at one point because we felt that was a way to get really good, solid growth. But then when you think about the money required to buy a company that's turning at a 5 or 6% margin, you go, oh my God, $100 million and I get to do $100 million in revenue, or $10 million I get to do $100 million in revenue, whatever the heck it is, but I'm making $2 or $3, $4, $5 million a year. It's really not a very good use of money. That same $100 million put into capability to let the world be your man. I could, instead of buying that company, I could actually contract with 50 just like it for the same amount of capital.
Which means that we don't have to acquire companies,
right?
Which makes our life easier. Now, if I may, I'm going to tell my Il Fornaio story.
Sure.
Okay, which is the early 90s. I was actually, my brother Steven was busy helping me get into the film industry. And
that's a great story.
I was very excited, and I met at Il Fornaio on La Brea, I think near a fountain, and I meet with this lady, and I'm saying, okay, so how can I break in? What can I do? And she goes, it's really impossible. It's super hard. It's going to take you forever. Nobody wants it. It's really hard. I said, well, what if I brought the money? She goes, you got anything you want. It's all good. I'm like, all right. It's the money, stupid, right?
Lesson learned. So that, and it's funny because in this one call, this was to me, it was a perfect reality. It was a validation. And it was a reality check at just how obvious the need is out there. It was a seamless, comfortable, congenial conversation. He was thrilled. And he said, I got this deal. It's $3.5 million. You want to finance it? Sure.
And here's the cool thing. We don't have, as we accumulate capital, we can leverage that capital. Mm-hmm. We don't have to do one for one, right? There's ways to make your capital be leveraged, right? Yeah. Through the magic of the finance world. And so now we get into multiplication of capital, and this further stretches or the capabilities that our investors are giving us.
Yeah.
I wonder.
And today it was this summit, which gets us all together with
my sourdough bread.
Which is amazing, we ate like Italians.
Yeah.
So that was amazing, and then Manuel was here, and Dustin was here, and tomorrow we're going to continue because like Rick's assembled a team. Now the team is probably, I would say, one of the best products that will accomplish the mission. You need to have the right crew to
so was the team
to drive the ship, right?
Yep.
So I think it was very special, and we wanted to be all together to
actually be together.
Actually be
actually.
together. Yeah.
You realize how amazing that is?
And in fairness, I think we accomplished more in 3 hours than we could have in 3 months because I got to take a phone call. I got to talk to so and so. So the group is never locked in. All right, lock them in a room. And make sure that in 3 hours it's work, and we did, right? Yeah. We worked it out.
Special.
And one person fewer walked out, but that's not good.
Right. Well, he should have listened. He shouldn't have ate the bread. All right.
Thank you.
Right. I wonder if the leverage of that capital, it's a magnification, really. Mm-hmm. I wonder if there's a function in that magnification strategy that could actually potentially even create greater rewards in terms of pay streams.
Well, here's exactly. Let's take a look at a water on demand subsidiary. A water on demand subsidiary has, let's say, 10 investors, 100,000 each, $1 million. Right. Keep it simple. All right. Now they get 25% on that investment of $1 million, which, let's say, over time, just to keep it simple, it's $100,000 split 10 ways. So you should get $10,000 in royalties. But now we leverage it into $10 million. They get 10 times as much royalty because we've created
it's still the subsidiary, isn't
it? Right, it's the same subsidiary. We've created 10 times as much net profits.
Correct.
Out of the same original stake.
Right. So even the model, even this model that we're working with, could be incredibly modest when once applied to a real world with the delights of banking. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now you have to hedge your bets, right? When you do that kind of stuff, you then have to, you have to like buy, contra positions and all. You have to make, it's like
there's ways to securitize it.
Absolutely.
Right.
You buy counter positions, et cetera, and you make sure it's all okay. And there's insurance products to buy. There's all kinds of interesting.
Like airlines buy fuel futures, oil futures.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It would be this, in a bad market if they go long a bunch of fuel. We could do the same thing with similar instruments with the equipment being securitized, right?
Exactly.
Very exciting stuff.
So all that good stuff is really interesting, but it means that we're going to have to add a lot of sophistication to our operation. And Manuel, of course, is brilliant, but he's really kind of like the boy with the finger in the dike. He's like, already he's overloaded. And he's not even full time. So that is something that it's just why we are continuing to not only put capital to work, but also use some of that capital to build the capabilities that we need to put in the systems, software, the sensory networks, the network operation centers, all those things. At the end of the day, where are we 10 years from now? Right? It's an interesting thought exercise. Where are we 10 years from now?
Okay.
Well, assuming that we've reached our goals, which are, let's say that we raised the $300 million we're talking about, which is in progress, half of which goes to water on demand, which is then leveraged in some magical way. Right. Now you got.
So are we talking 5 to 1 leverage, 10 to 1?
We're talking about $500 million ultimately.
Sure.
Let's say you're working with $500 million, which is throwing off a ton of cash.
Well, even at the 10 to 1 model, and by the way, the 10 to 1 model that you were talking about, that's a little on the modest side, but let's just say you're right. You said $5 billion?
$500 million.
$500 million. That means you throw off about $5 billion.
Right. So, and then out of that, what it throws off, 25% goes to the investors. Right. Not a bad outcome.
Well, it's $1.25 billion if my math is right.
Well, that's why you have the money job. My math.
You're quick on math.
Carry the one. Right.
I remember once I did a big announcement, and it turned out I'd made a math mistake. And my backers went, "Well, you weren't hired for your money skills."
Good presentation, but yeah, let's stick to a calculator.
Right. That's why we have a good CFO. So we are actually, it's 40 minutes in.
Think about that 1 second, though. I want to focus back because again, right away, the gears turn with the money. $500 million of actual investable capital could create just to the investors $1.25 billion
over time.
It's amazing.
And of course, currently we give these investors stock, which they will not have in the future. In the future, once this established program, they'll just get the royalties, and it's lots of money. 25% of net profits.
Right.
Very good.
Right.
Yeah.
If you ask an MLP investor,
Master Limited Partnership.
Master Limited Partnership. Thank you. If you ask that investor if he expected stock in Shell, because they were drilling for Shell or they were drilling for BP, if he was expecting stock in the parent, of course not. I did this to make sure that my $1 million is still $1 million in 10 years, that I'm buoyed against inflation. That really is the expectation for an inflation hedge and asset, right? The fact that we're doing this now, to the extent that we're providing real, kind of that exciting, what was the word we were using before? Real founder type of potential leverage. It's a window that is, it's short, but I think, I think the people that get it require very little explanation.
Okay. Well, I'd like to tell our friends tonight that Ken here has a briefing for you that will blow your mind. And if you haven't had it already, you need to get it, because he is going to impart stuff that is still, not material, non-public information, because we don't do that. But still, it's not the kind of stuff that we broadcast widely. It is a confidential briefing. And
on possibilities.
Totally. He's very good at disclaiming. I trust him implicitly in that respect. But it's very important to have a little bit more time spent on it. And as an OriginClear investor, and unfortunately you need to be accredited right now to participate, we hope that will change, you definitely need to put oc.gold/Ken.
/Ken.
Yep. oc.gold/Ken in your browser. Schedule a call with Ken, and it's going to be a very rewarding discussion, I'm quite sure. With that, I wanted to thank you for joining us. It was interesting, this little crash that we had, but it's a good thing that we had a fallback that's really cool.
You know what? It's a good thing we were all sitting on your couch when it happened.
Exactly. And we had a full crew ready to go.
Cameras and lighting.
If there weren't the four of us plus an entire camera crew in the room,
it would have been a problem.
I would have been like, restart computer. Yeah. Anyway, so with that, thank you all, and thank you for joining us. It's been a great pleasure having you tonight.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
And next week, you'll see that Sustainability Live podcast, but there'll also be more. I've got some interesting stuff to show you that you will enjoy. Join me next week.
Good night.
Good night, guys.